Hello and welcome to the very first episode of us finally getting round to the city. I've put it off for long enough now that I think it's finally time that we start stretching into the unknown and see how far we can actually push this save before something happens. Hopefully nothing does happen, but I'm really going to be pushing it with this city. I just want to throw so much detail into the most tiniest things, and I just want it to look absolutely amazing by the time that we're finally done. Now, I showed a little bit of Google Earth at the start of the episode, and I'm not going to be copying this one for one, but I am going to be taking elements from it that I like, because I was kind of looking around for different types of train stations that I wanted in the city, and some of them I didn't really like, or I didn't think were going to fit kind of like what I was going for. But the one that you saw at the beginning, I'm going to be taking kind of the environment around it and the roads and stuff like that. But I'm going to be putting a big mall that you saw just a few minutes ago right in front of it. And that's going to kind of act as the main attraction to the front of this. This is going to be a mall and train station episode. Apart from, we're not really going to do anything with trains. Just because I didn't have the time, to be honest. And I figured that we can do that in the next episode, because with what I tried to get done with this episode and a load of other things that I'm going to talk about a little bit later, I kind of not run out of time, but did run out of time, but then found out some things and didn't find out some things. I know, it's kind of weird. So basically, in this episode, we're going to be kind of detailing and building the front of the train station. And then in the next episode after this, we're going to be doing the train line and then the back of the train station. And then we're going to move on to some other stuff after that. But one thing I do want to talk about, I put up a picture on my community page just the other day highlighting a mod called Road Builder, and it allows you to basically just create your own roads. Absolutely incredible, because as you can see already, we're not using any roads that I've made yet. And the reason for this is it is old footage, but I've kept it in because everything that you're seeing me do right now, I basically do when I replace the roads with the new roads. And it was kind of difficult because normally sometimes I add things after the episode, stuff that comes to mind and stuff like that. But this time I had this idea of, I really wanted a tram to go around the train station, and I wanted it to go around a big commercial district, as well as I wanted it to go down to a big like national park that we'll build at some point. And I wanted this tram line to kind of work as its own little ecosystem for the entire area. So inside that entire area, there won't be like any bus stops or anything like that apart from outside the front of the train station. And the tram will act as the public transportation for that entire area. And I did try this, but the trams in game just didn't work with the Japanese themed roads that you can see me using right now. They were really scuffed, like they were glitching, and they'd have like holes in where you could see through the map. They were just super scuffed, so I actually scrapped the idea. And the way I tried to get around it, that you can kind of see right now, is I put down a fake train station with a very small car that kind of looks like a tram car, and I overlay the track on top of the road, and with intersection marking tool and node controller, I basically cordon off one of the lanes and I use it as a tram one. And it worked well. It looked good at the end, but it still kind of bugged me that you know, I wanted the tram to kind of be not the center of attention, but I really wanted it to stick out for the area. And I felt just having it on one lane and in my head knowing what I wanted this tram line to actually be, I knew I had to do something. So I scoured the workshop looking for tram tracks. I tried multiple, none of them worked until I found the road builder mod. And yeah, this is basically what we're going to be using. I'm going to be making some more roads. I'm thinking of maybe different ones for some ideas that I've had in my head for how I would like the roads to be, but I can't get them type of roads, if this kind of makes sense. Like, I've had the idea of having some bus only lanes and some bikes and some other stuff for like different districts in the city. I want some to kind of be heavy on bus transportation, some to kind of be heavy on bikes. And I'm thinking that with this new mod, we can make them roads and put them in ourselves. And the nice thing about these roads is I can leave them completely empty with no detailing on them or anything whatsoever, and I can put it on myself using intersection marking tool. So I could create one road, for example, with 8 lanes, and in theory, I could make that 8 lane into a 2 lane and just add a bike lane, add a bus lane, just put some grass on one of the lanes to make it then into a 6 lane or a 2 lane. And I don't have to create 100 different type of roads with the road builder. I can just make a couple, and I can use intersection marking tool to kind of create anything else that I would want. And obviously node controller as well, and the traffic management mod as well on top. And with them other mods in place, I can really create kind of anything. Because that, I'll be honest, was the challenge. I know I said it earlier, but the idea in my head for what I want this city to be is I really want to go heavy on the detail, even if it's on the smallest thing that you're only going to see for like 10 seconds in a cinematic. I just really want to go heavy on this city, as I know that this is kind of going to be the last thing that we build in Project Oarai. So I want to put everything into this city and just see what type of crazy things that we can make. Because I've got some other ideas in my head for different areas. The biggest one I'm excited for is definitely the Universal Studio. When we get around to that, it's gonna be awesome. I have a feeling that we're gonna have to maybe make it 1 or 2 episodes, maybe even 3, just because the Universal Studios is a massive location and it's gonna require a lot of detail. Now, onto this episode. I know we're like almost 10 minutes in and I haven't really said much about this episode, but some of the cinematics at the end are going to be completely different to what you've seen me build. And that's because, like what I said, I found out about this other mod and this other stuff that you can make and so on. And I thought, rather than re-record it, and because the episode had already been edited, I just hadn't put any music to it or me speaking or anything, but it was already put together. And I figured, to be honest, everything that you're seeing it's just the same. The only difference is that instead of you seeing me putting down a train track for the tram's already built in on the road, so I just paste the road down and I just recopy the same intersection marking tool details that I'd made. So it was done and over with in about maybe 5 or 10 minutes, if that. And I figured there'd be no point. But if you would have liked to have seen that and, you know, that type of stuff, just let me know, and in the future I'll just make sure to re-edit it and put it in if you guys are really want to see like the changes and whatnot. But if not, no worries. But if you do, then I'll see about it in the future, because I never know if something like this is going to come up again. Because obviously we've got the Universal Studio area, we've got a massive castle that we're going to build at some point, a massive national park, a huge industrial area, as well as some residential and a load of other stuff that's going to get done. So I never know if I'm going to change something, and I'm hoping that I don't have to change anymore, because I'd like to ideally just do it all in the episode and then that's it. Because I have a really bad habit of, I'll finish recording the episode and then I'll edit it together, and then I'll go back in game and I'll think, oh, I'll just tweak that actually. Oh, actually, this idea here would actually look a lot better. And I really need to stop doing it. So hopefully we don't do that anymore. Okay, so one other thing that I do want to talk about as well, a little bit later on in this episode, I'm going to be adding some buildings around the train station, and I don't really pay much attention to them for the sheer reason is they're just placeholder buildings. I've added them in for the sake of kind of the cinematics, but I when I was building and I was making this, I really wasn't getting the sense of this is a town center, this is part of the city. I just wasn't clicking with it. So I put these buildings down to kind of give me an idea of how it's going to look around the area. So don't pay too much attention to the buildings that you're going to see appear a little bit later on. They're just placeholder buildings. They're more than likely 100% going to get changed at some point to something a little bit more appropriate when we get round to when we get round to kind of adding in these blocks, because I plan on doing the streets as like blocks, and then we're going to fill them in different episodes and that type of stuff. Okay, so with all that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you with the rest of the episode. I really hope that you enjoy it, and like always, I'll see you all in the next one.